Hello, J.M. Voors, author of The Restless Rock, a children's book. Uh, I live in La Crescenta, California, which is in the foothills above Glendale, uh, and not too far from the Rose Bowl. Uh, I ended up in La Crescenta, um, I guess, in a sort of roundabout way. I was originally, when I was younger, a professional dancer, and I've lived in a couple of different states, Italy, Spain, um, Japan, and have visited quite a few other countries. And when I retired from dancing, I first settled in Nevada, and then came to California because that's where I was born and raised, and uh, was in Burbank because I've worked for the studios for quite a number of years, and that's close to the studios. But then wanted a place that was uh, in the city but not in the city, and the La Cañada Flint Ridge area and the La Crescenta area, they all have a very small town feel to them. But they're also within 20 minutes of downtown LA, uh, Burbank, Pasadena. So uh, if you're looking for culture, it's close. Activities, close. And but you can always come home to a little bit slower pace, a little bit quieter area, which I like. It's very nice. I started writing probably in my teens, mostly at the time. Um, I've always been very fond of music, and so at the time I was mostly writing lyrics to songs that the music would get written later on. Although I love music a lot, I'm not particularly talented in that area. So I always figured that I would find somebody who was good at writing music. I would write the lyrics, we'd team up, and you know, life would be beautiful. But that didn't quite happen. So a lot of, I wouldn't call it poetry, but rhyming song lyrics, kind of thing. Uh, and then, of course, I did that through my dancing, and it was kind of a on again, off again type of thing. Um, and I would say probably not until, well, actually, it would have been 15, 16 years ago. Started writing um, short stories and stuff like that. And then what really did it for me was when we had our kids, when they were around 4 or 5, and starting school, starting kindergarten. Um, we'd have to get down to the table in the morning to have breakfast, and we'd have just I'd be getting breakfast ready, and they'd be sitting at the table and kind of bored. So um, to try and uh, make it a happy experience that they're going off to school and everything's going to be great, I started telling them stories, and we would make the stories up. So they would give me the name of a person, or a job, or place, a thing, something, and I would make up a story from that. And they would take turns doing it. So one of the very first stories we came up was, I said, okay, give me something. And they said, a rock. And I thought, okay, I put my foot in it. Okay, I'll rock. And since they were kind of complaining about being bored, I said, okay, this is a board rock. And just started telling the story. And um, so it was a lot of fun, and I liked it. And so that became a regular routine for us as we would, sit down to breakfast before school, and they would give me something, and we'd tell stories. Sometimes they would help me tell the story. Uh, one time I said, "Whose turn is it to give me something for the story?" And Ian said, "Oh, I know. Me. Make him a criminal. Make him a burglar or something." And I said, "Okay." And my daughter was upset because she wanted to do it that morning. And so I asked her, "Okay, well, you give me something and we'll incorporate the two of them together." And she said, "Oh, blah, blah, blah." You know, she didn't want to play. She was going to be pout and be upset. So I said, "Okay, we have a burglar who all he can say is blah, blah, blah." And that turned out to be a lot of fun and, lots of laughs. Haven't quite figured out how to turn that into just a story that you can read and have it work. It's fun from uh, maybe an audio version, where you can actually express the emotion of what he's saying through voice. But those are the kind of things we did, and we did that for a few years. Um, the story obviously changed a lot from when we first told it. There's a lot of editing, adjusting, and stuff like that. But here we are, roughly 12 years later, and and it's a book that you can get. So, and looking forward to doing quite a few more of them. As far as the title of the book, I had two ideas. It was either going to be The Board Boulder, which I liked, or The Restless Rock. And then it was the Restless Rock, aka The Board Boulder. And then we just decided, or I guess I just decided, that we go with The Restless Rock. That sounded the best. There's really only one character in the book, so he would be my favorite, and that would be the Rock. Um, there's other, I guess you would call them characters in the book, but they're yeah, and more in a decorative role. They're not a substantive in any way. So uh, it would have to be the Restless Rock. I can't say I started out trying to pass a moral or message, but there are several within the book that you could um, take if that's what you were looking for. Um, One is the grass is always greener. You always think somebody has it better than you do until you walk a mile in their shoes, kind of thing. Um, there's something that actually I learned when I was much older is thoughts are things. That is was a big one. That what you think about and what you focus on is what you'll get. And that life has a way of throwing curves. It won't always be the way you thought it would. You may get what you want, but it won't be the way you thought you would get it. So there's all of that, and there's probably another good 6 or 7 other things that you could glean from it from a life perspective. But mostly it's an entertaining story for kids. And if they get something out of it beyond that, that's just a plus. There's always the chance that subconsciously more is going in, but it's mainly for an interesting story for kids, and they can see things in there and think about things um, that's relative to what they're going through as a kid right now. So I'm very happy with it all around, and hopefully the reader will be too. Although I must say that I've read the book to 3 different first grades right now, and they've all loved it. So that's a good sign. For the children's books that I've written, we didn't really go with outlines because it wasn't a deliberate where you sit down and plan out this, that, and how the story's going to progress, and this needs to happen here and that needs to happen there. It grew out of stories that I told my kids at the breakfast table. So for the books that I've already written, I don't really, for kids anyway, I don't really see that outlines have helped me. Let's put it that way. As far as, I do have a couple of books that I've written. One is a bit of a self-help book for young adults, and another one is a fantasy novel for young adults, and both of those requiring still a lot of work to go yet. But for those 2, outlines did help. It helped to clarify the thought process and what needed to come when, and just generally to keep track of the story and what I've already set up without having to go back and reread it every time. Because the stories get a bit more involved. There's stories and secondary side stories and things like that. So it's quite a bit more to remember and develop and keep track of, so that you don't contradict yourself later in the book, something that you set up earlier. So in that way, yeah, outlines are very helpful organizationally when getting into larger works. I have another children's book, surprise, surprise, that is, it's going to be a book of rhyming stories. Again, I don't like to call it poetry, it's just rhyming stories. Um, and it's about 8 short stories that rhyme, that have titles like Shouting Shelley, there's Jojo the Joker, and Magic Michelle, The Traveling Train, Milkshake. So there's a good lot of good ones that they're fun and they're interesting and they rhyme, and I think kids will really enjoy them. And you get, instead of just one story, you get 8 different ones. So that'll be good. After that, Um, I have a story that I think will be pretty good, um, called Bonk Out. Um, so it's a bit short, so it might have to go in maybe a package of 4 short stories to make it worthwhile. Um, but my wife really likes Bonk Out, so uh, I think that will be third on the list. Um, and then beyond that, I'll have to see. I love them both. Um, Mostly it depends on how much free time I have. If I only have a couple of hours, probably a movie. If I have more time, if I know it's going to be a slow week, and I can get a good couple of hours of reading in each day, then I'll go for a book. I always find books are better than movies, um, particularly when well, for example, the Harry Potter movies. The books um, go into so much more detail, so much more involved, um, which really takes you more into their world, um, and I think you feel you understand them better. The movies, I felt, tried to do too much in too little time. There was so much story in each book that, after the second book, they could have split each book and made 2 movies out of them, and it would have been fine. I thought it would have been better. And movies have a tendency to go cliche. I thought once they got into the third and fourth films onward, it was very cliche of what a witch was. Very stereotypical uh, kind of thing, when J.K. Rowling had taken the time to really develop um, a world that was uh, pretty much like this world. Bad things can happen on a sunny day just as they can any other time. It doesn't have to be dark and cloudy and stormy. Uh, you know, but that's just my take. I have to say, I'm a dog person. Now, that being said, I have a cat. And that being because my wife is a cat person. And we live in a smaller place, so a cat is better. Um, but cats are fine. I like cats too. But I'm more of a dog person. Summer. I'm going to say pie with ice cream. um, I prefer pie over cake, and ice cream with pie just makes it better. Well, for most. I suppose ice cream with lemon meringue pie probably wouldn't be all that great. But pie and ice cream. And if you asked me 20 to 30 years ago, I would say motorcycle. Um, but I'm older now and I can appreciate a car. Although I think that car should be a convertible. And that way you kind of have the best of both worlds. No contest. Would have to be a real book. Something about holding the book and just reading, turning the page, uh, instead of swiping the page. It could be just because I was raised that electronic books weren't around when I was a kid, or even a young adult. So, um, you know, something about settling into a cozy chair and reading a book and there's nothing to charge with a book. You don't need an outlet or have to stop because the battery is almost gone. I think I'll have to take the country. Yep. Nature is fantastic. Can't beat it. I would have to say telekinesis. I think that being able to read other people's minds would eventually drive you crazy. You know, I suppose if you could turn it on and turn it off at will, so you could just take little bits at a time, then maybe mind reading, but that wasn't an option in the question. The past, there's a lot of people that it would be wonderful to go and actually meet them and talk to them for real. History has a way of either setting people on pedestals or lionizing them beyond what they really were. But I would like to see the man or woman versus the myth. And so there's some people that were fascinating thinkers that would be interesting to just talk to them. But I would have to say that the future, because the future is unknown, as as best I can tell. I haven't been able to predict the future yet, other than in great generalities. But it would be interesting to see the world that we see now and what actually happens to it in the future. What choices have won out. And that kind of thing. So, if I had to go to either the future or the past and stay there, maybe I might choose the past, because the future might not be a place I want to stay. It may be fantastic and be the best place, be, oh wow, that's great, I'm going to stay here. But I think if the past or the future, it would have to be a visit, and it'd be a visit to the future. When I was a dancer, I did a lot of traveling, living in other countries, flying to other countries. I actually lived on a cruise ship for a year. It was a world cruiser, and we went all around the Pacific. But I would have to say now that I would travel by car. Airplanes are just glorified Greyhound buses. They used to be, you were treated well. They were accommodating generally, and they were there to help you with your travels. Now they're mainly a hindrance. It's an obstacle to get through, to get where you're going. So the travel industry, particularly regarding flight, has really taken a nosedive from when I did most of my traveling. So, unless it's on a private airplane, I wouldn't care to travel. Or, I guess maybe business or first class is still okay to travel. Um, but I've traveled coach for practically my whole life. And that now is just your a number. So, uh, short answer, car. I think if I had to give one up, it would be the internet. And that's mainly because a large chunk of my life, the internet didn't exist. So I know I can do it. There's a lot of good things about the internet, but it's also easy to get sucked in um, and waste a lot of time on the internet. So I think I would do without the internet. So this has been a lot of fun. I hope you enjoy my view on things, and I hope you enjoy. I hope you enjoy the interview, and be interested to hear any comments that you have. If you would like to read the Restless Rock, it is on Amazon and Kindle. I'm sure it'll be in retail stores soon if it isn't already. And I think your kids would love it. All right? Enjoy. Bye.